A luxury mansion stands silent, its grand halls suddenly abandoned. A moving crew carries expensive furniture through echoing empty rooms. Outside, a tow truck hauls away a gleaming sports car. Unopened debt notices blanket a kitchen table like fallen leaves. Across town, a judge quietly signs life-changing custody paperwork. Meanwhile, a garbage truck rumbles through crowded city streets before dawn. One trash collector climbs down, beginning another ordinary shift. What nobody around him realizes is he once won $1 million. Even harder to believe, every dollar eventually disappeared. How do you win $1 million and lose everything? Lifestyle inflation sounds harmless, but it quietly destroys countless fortunes. The moment income rises, spending often races ahead even faster. Many people believe wealth means buying everything they once desired. But every upgrade creates new costs, hiding beneath the surface. The larger the lifestyle becomes, the harder it becomes maintaining. Financial disasters rarely begin when money disappears from accounts first. They begin when discipline slowly leaves, while spending grows unchecked. This story follows a hard-working garbage collector named Max Carter. He believed success could be measured by expensive purchases and appearances. Before the lottery changed everything, life looked very different. At exactly 4:15 every morning, sleep barely leaves before another demanding workday begins again. The apartment stays quiet while coffee brews inside the kitchen. Every dollar matters, so expensive habits never enter the budget. Outside waits an aging pickup truck carrying years of wear. The familiar route to work never changes, year after year. Before sunrise, sanitation workers gather and prepare for another shift. The truck rolls forward while the city still remains asleep. Days become months, months become years, and the routine continues. For 18 years, hard work never seemed enough to get ahead. Every weekend became the part of life he treasured most, to meet his daughter, Sophie. He waited eagerly outside, counting minutes until she arrived. The two spent time together without expensive entertainment or luxuries. Simple meals often replaced the fancy restaurants other families enjoyed. Yet those ordinary moments became the brightest part of everything. She spoke excitedly about dreams stretching far beyond their circumstances. He listened carefully, wanting every possibility to remain within reach. Each promise came from love, even when money stayed limited. Behind every smile sat a growing fear he rarely shared. Meanwhile, unpaid bills continued stacking higher with every passing month. The shift finally ended, leaving exhaustion hanging over every muscle. On the drive home, he stopped for coffee and fuel. It felt like an ordinary afternoon, no different than before. While paying, a lottery display caught his attention briefly. With spare change remaining, he bought a single ticket. 3 days passed before he remembered checking the numbers. The first number matched, then another again. Soon, every number lined up perfectly across the ticket. His hands trembled as reality crashed into his thoughts. Then came the impossible realization that changed everything forever. Reporters swarmed Max's apartment before he even had coffee. Every news station in Columbus wanted the same interview. Max Carter's face was suddenly everywhere across the city. People he hadn't seen in years showed up smiling. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing for 3 straight days. Family members he barely knew were suddenly calling constantly. The money requests started arriving before the check even did. Max loved every second of the attention, every single second. $1 million minus taxes left him with $700,000. Max believed his problems were permanently over. He walked into the office and handed in his resignation. Rick grabbed his arm and said, "Max, please, think carefully." The resignation was stamped approved before lunch that same day. Max laughed, walking out of that sanitation yard forever. His co-workers stood watching him leave in complete disbelief. He drove away from that garbage yard and never looked back. He woke up before sunrise out of pure 18-year habit. $700,000 confirmed, right there on his phone screen. He checked the balance again, then one more time. He called a realtor before breakfast on a Tuesday morning. Linda Brooks sold luxury homes to people exactly like Max. She showed him neighborhoods he had only ever driven past before. Max walked through the mansion front door and immediately said yes. The price was $450,000. Max nodded. The contract was signed. The keys were his by Friday afternoon. He stood alone inside that empty mansion, feeling like a king. Max had $700,000 and no plan whatsoever. The first thing he wanted was a garage full of cars. He walked into the dealership without even looking at prices. Tony Ramirez showed him the floor, and Max said yes to everything. A luxury SUV for $90,000, done. A sports car for $140,000, done. A motorcycle for $25,000, done without hesitation. $255,000 spent in a single afternoon. His cash was already gone, and he did not even notice Max was now $125,000 in the negative. The bank letters started arriving before the cars were even delivered. Premium credit card offers flooded his mailbox every single day. Max opened every envelope like they were birthday gifts. Card: a $50,000 limit approved immediately. Card B: $40,000 limit, signed the same day. Card C: $35,000 limit accepted without reading terms. Card D: $25,000 limit, the fourth card that week. $150,000 in available credit, all accepted. Max thought the banks were rewarding him for being successful. The banks were not rewarding him. They were waiting patiently. Max started picking up every dinner tab without anyone asking him. He bought gifts for people he barely knew personally. He hosted parties at the mansion every single weekend. The house was always full of people Max had never met before. He spent money because spending made him feel important and respected. The credit cards covered everything the cash could no longer reach. $92,000 disappeared on parties and gifts alone. Not one single dollar of it built anything lasting for Max. The cash was completely gone now. Only credit cards remained, and the debt was only just beginning to grow its roots. Max had never taken a real vacation in 18 years of working, so he decided to take all of them at once, starting immediately. Las Vegas was first, $45,000 in 4 nights. Miami came next, $32,000 in one long weekend. A Caribbean cruise for $38,000 followed right after. Luxury resorts added another $41,000 to the total. $156,000 spent on vacations alone. None of it was budgeted, and none of it was paid in cash. Every trip went directly onto the credit cards already near their limits. Max came home from each vacation more broke than when he left. One by one, every credit card hit its maximum limit that year. Max needed money, but his cards had nothing left to give him. He walked back into the bank and asked for a personal loan. David Reed approved the first loan for $75,000. Max spent it within 6 weeks and came back for another one. A second loan for $55,000 was approved the same week. $130,000 in personal loans, now stacked on top. Max was not borrowing money. He was borrowing years of his future. Every dollar he borrowed today would cost him $2 tomorrow. He could not see it, and nobody in his life stopped him. Max had not noticed how much his monthly expenses had quietly exploded. The mansion alone cost $4,800 every month. Insurance on everything he owned added $1,500 monthly on top. His 3 vehicles cost $2,700 every single month. Entertainment and dining added $4,000 to the monthly total.
Credit card minimum payments alone were $5,300 monthly. $18,300 leaving his account every single month. He had no income, only debt that kept growing larger every day. Rachel, Max's ex-wife, saw the numbers and called him immediately with serious concern. Max told her everything was completely under control and ended the call. Rachel called again and again, trying to reach him through the noise. Rick drove to the mansion and told Max this would not end well. Debt collectors started calling before noon on most mornings now. Max let every single call go to voicemail without ever listening. He told himself things would somehow work themselves out on their own. He believed a good month was still coming. It never came. He ignored Rick just as easily as he had ignored Rachel before. The people who cared most were the ones he pushed away hardest. Then, one morning, a yellow envelope arrived underneath the front door. It was a foreclosure notice, and this one could not be ignored.
Max needed cash, and the only way to get it was selling everything. The sports car he bought for $140,000 sold for $75,000, a $65,000 loss overnight. The luxury SUV he bought for $90,000 was next, sold for $48,000, another $42,000 gone forever. The motorcycle he bought for $25,000 sold for $11,000. $14,000 more dollars simply evaporated in a matter of days. Everything he had bragged about was being sold at a massive loss. The garage that once felt like a dream now felt like a grave. But even selling everything was not enough to stop what was coming. The bank moved on the foreclosure, and Max had no way to fight it. Linda Brooks listed the mansion for less than Max had paid for it. He bought it for $450,000, confident and proud. It sold for $330,000, a loss of $120,000. The moving company arrived and began emptying rooms he had barely used. Max stood in the empty great room and felt the silence hit him hard. Less than 6 years ago, he had stood here feeling like a king. Now, he was watching strangers carry his furniture through the front door. The house was gone. The debt was not gone. It remained waiting. $108,000 still owed after selling everything he had. Rachel had been watching everything collapse for months, with growing fear. She filed for full custody of Sophie, citing Max had no stable home. The court reviewed every financial record Max had tried to keep hidden. Judge William Harper looked at the numbers and made his decision quickly. Max could not demonstrate he was capable of providing Sophie a stable life. Sophie would move in permanently with Rachel, effective immediately by court order. Max stood outside the courthouse and watched his daughter walk away slowly. No car, no mansion, no credit card had prepared him for this moment. He had lost the only thing the $1 million was ever really for. Max sat down one night and finally added up every single number he had received. $700,000 after taxes were taken out. His total spending across everything reached $1,386,000. Credit card debt alone stood at $150,000 remaining. Personal loans added another $130,000 on top. Interest and fees had compounded into $114,000 more. Total financial damage, $1,780,000. After selling every asset he owned, he still owed $108,000. He had started with $700,000 and somehow ended up owing more. This is what lifestyle inflation and debt does to any amount of money. Max needed work, and nobody was interested in hiring him anywhere. Application after application came back with the same answer: no thank you. He had been out of the workforce for 6 years, and it showed. His credit score was destroyed. His reputation in the city was known. He finally called his old supervisor at the sanitation department in Columbus. They gave him his job back, the same route, the same truck. Rick was standing in the yard when Max showed up on the first morning. Rick said nothing. He just nodded and handed Max his work gloves. No lecture. No, I told you so, just a friend, offering a second chance. Max put the gloves on and climbed onto the back of the truck. The route took Max through the same neighborhoods he had always worked. Then the truck turned down a street Max immediately recognized from memory. The mansion was still standing exactly where he had left it behind. Different curtains in the windows now, someone else calling it home. A different car sitting in the driveway where his sports car once sat. Max held the side rail of the truck
and did not look away. Sophie was at school, at Rachel's house, living her life without him. He passed the mansion slowly, and the truck kept moving forward without stopping. Max stood in the rain on the back of that truck, exactly where he started. Except now, he was carrying far more than trash. He was carrying regret.
Max won $700,000 and forgot every habit he had. The mansion felt like success, but it cost money every single month. The cars felt like freedom, but the payments never stopped coming. Every credit card was a future paycheck he had already spent early. Every loan made the problem bigger instead of making anything better. Money without discipline is just a faster road to zero every time. $700,000 disappeared because the lifestyle grew faster than income. The math was simple, the spending was emotional, the outcome was ruin. A $500,000 index fund would have changed everything completely. 7% annual return turns $500,000 into $2 million eventually. $200,000 as a buffer means you never touch the investment. Living off growth while protecting principal is what actual freedom looks like. Sophie deserved a stable father more than she needed a mansion bedroom. Max chose to look rich instead of choosing to become truly free. Looking rich is a performance. Being free is a number that lasts. The house got taken, the cars got repossessed, the account hit zero. Lifestyle inflation will consume any amount of money, given enough time. When your expenses match your income, the money always runs out first. It does not matter how much you earn if the habits are broken. $40,000 a year or $700,000. Bad habits win, always. The habits you bring to money decide everything that happens to it. Max had 18 years of discipline and dropped it in one afternoon. The moment the money arrived, every good habit walked straight out the door. Max did not lose his money at the bank. He lost it earlier. He lost it the moment he confused looking wealthy with being wealthy. The house, the cars, the credit cards, all symptoms of one mistake. Discipline built the dream. Losing discipline ended everything Max worked for.